this episode of the podcast, I talk with Evan Shelton. He's a musician, podcaster, writer, director, and kind of a jack of all trades. He runs the Lurking Transmission horror podcast, which is really, really killer. Highly recommend that one. And he also does the Ritual Light and Sound podcast, which is more like film-based and stuff, which is also really killer. So we talk metal on this one. We talk film, and a little bit of everything. So hope you enjoy this one, and thanks for checking it out. All right, man. Well, appreciate you being on the podcast.
No problem, dude. Been looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, same here, man. This is probably my highlight of the week.
Oh, thanks, dude. Thanks. You've had some good ones lately, man. That fucking Bonnie Aarons and Chrissy Fox, was that her name?
Yeah, Chrissy Fox, yep.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah, that was super fun. Really cool people. And, when Bonnie Aarons hit me up a while back or whatever, and I hit her up, I was like, when can I get you on the podcast? And, she had to talk to her agent and stuff. So I was like, okay. So I think a month down the line after that, I was in New Orleans, and I got hit up from Chrissy Fox and Bonnie Aarons that they wanted to be on the podcast. I'm like, hell yeah, man. I was like, that's fucking awesome. Bonnie Aarons is a goddamn legend. Chrissy Fox is fucking awesome. So.
Yeah, her stuff sounds fucking rad. I'm definitely gonna track all that down, man. The way she talked about practical effects and shit, I was like, she's probably making the kind of movies that I want to watch.
Yeah, Frank is streaming right now on Amazon Prime for free.
Oh shit. Okay, thanks, man. Thanks for the heads up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I watched it a weekend before last, and I enjoyed it, man. Really good. She was right with the practical effects. They killed it with that, man. Frank was really cool looking and has like a different thing going on than like most monster movies, so
very
pretty cool shit.
Yeah, that's what it used to be all about, man. It's like every new monster movie that came out, it was like just trying not to do what had been done before, and so we used to end up with like some cool monster designs just because everybody was trying to one up each other, and everybody bailed on practical.
Yeah, we don't have any monster movies really anymore. We were talking about it on that last podcast with Bonnie and them, like the monster movies are few and far between nowadays. We got a shit ton of like supernatural, shit ton of like fucking serial killer movies, some slashers, but like the actual monster movie like genres kind of ain't doing too well.
Yeah, it's true, man, and I it's probably just because of that. Like most people, they think they need CG. To pull that stuff off, and then the ones who are aware of practical and understand the concept, they think it's probably more expensive and more work than it is. I don't know, but I'm the kind of person that, like, if I had a little chunk of change to make a movie, I would just spend it on an effects guy. You know what I mean? Like I would just cast people that I know and use shit that I have, and spend every bit of money I have on like bringing in somebody who really knows practical, but people don't think about stuff like that. Don't think about it in that way. It doesn't seem. There's one guy, I can't remember the dude's name, but he did the Barge People, and he's done a couple others. I think he also did a werewolf movie here lately.
That's my friend Charlie Steeds, and I actually have an episode with him. I haven't released yet because I'm like backed up on fucking episodes I got to get out. But yeah, Charlie Steeds, that's him.
Cool. Yeah, his stuff. I haven't actually watched any of his movies, but it all looks great, and I keep like seeing clips of it and seeing people talk about him and stuff. It looks really cool to me, especially that Barge People. I'm a sucker for any like deep one Lovecraftian fish folk shit. That's my jam.
Yeah, that one definitely has the Lovecraft touch to it. And like I said, it was all practical effects on a pretty damn low budget. Like all his films, as he explained it to me, are on like a really tight budget. So he's got to kind of make do with what he's got. And he likes to put a lot of emphasis on the effects, being all practical. Like there's very little CGI in his films. And he's working with a real small budget, he told me. He's like, one day you have a decent budget and really throw some shit out there. So
yeah, it's wild when you see people like again, I haven't seen the dude's flicks yet, but just like images and shit that I've seen from the Barge People, just still frames from that movie are better than anything in all 90 minutes of a movie like The Beach House or Host or any of these joints that are like that Shutter loves. Shutter loves to highlight these movies, and I'm like, they had a budget for that stuff, and still nothing happens. And then
if I'm not
dudes with
mistaken,
no
I think.
money
Oops,
like
sorry.
Steeds are putting out money movies where like shit happens, and you see stuff
Right.
on the screen, and it's impressive. That's the kind of shit I'm into.
I think the Barge People was streaming on Shutter. I'm not sure if it's still up there or not, but I know it was up there before. That's where I originally saw it.
Yeah, I think it is right now. It was on Prime for a minute, and I think it's on Shutter now.
hmm But yeah, man, that's what I'm looking for. I want more fucking monster films. I'm hoping to be like a renaissance of like new werewolf movies. I've been hearing talks about that. Like a few people I've interviewed talking about they're working on some new werewolf shit, and I'm hearing in like different magazines and stuff. So hopefully that's gonna
Cool.
be like a thing because we fucking need new werewolf movies, man.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. If I get Late Phases, is like in my top five, and I just saw it like a year ago.
Oh, I love Late Phases, man. That one's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, great movie, man. I like, for me, like characters are what draw me into stuff. And the older I get, the less interested I am in, yuppies and upper middle class folks in giant fucking houses and just, it's not that I like can't get into those stories at all. It's just I'd rather it be about the kind of people that I hang out with and that I like to spend time with and shit. And that's like Late Phases drew me in because of that character. I love that dude. I just like I love the idea of seeing somebody like that versus werewolves. Or like dog soldiers.
Oh yeah,
Just
hell yeah.
anything other than just like yuppie white folks getting eaten by werewolves.
Yeah, I'm good on all that.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I like my movies dirty if possible, I like dirty, gritty shit,
Yeah.
whenever I find it, I take it, but
Same, same.
So dude, you got one of like the best horror podcasts ever, man, with the Lurking Transmission. You want to tell me how all that started and
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Because I know it ain't for everybody, it's a tough sell for some people, mainly just because of the music, I think. But yeah, so the lurking transmission came about because I had moved down to Sydney, Australia in 2013, in like the fall of 2013,
hmm
because my ex-wife is Australian, and we had spent like 5 years in the States and figured it was time to give Australia a try, and so we moved down there, and I went to film school at NIDA, which is the National Institute of Dramatic Arts, I think is what it's called. And it's like a big fucking deal down there. Anybody who came from Australia and ended up in Hollywood, they went through NIDA, like Mel Gibson and Chris Hemsworth and Kate Blanchett and on and on and on.
hmm
Um, and my brother-in-law was kind enough to pay for me to go to school there. And so I moved down to Sydney and met people in film school and very quickly started to do like all the shit I wanted to do my whole life. I was like meeting cinematographers and meeting other screenwriters and directors and like making connections. And I shot a short film and I shot a like a promo for a TV series that I wrote down there. And I was like, I felt like I was making momentum, right? Like sort of getting where I wanted to get in film.
hmm
Because I come from bumfuck nowhere, South Georgia. There is no film industry down here. You're either doing your own thing or nothing's happening.
Right.
So then marriage didn't work out. I ended up back in South Georgia, and it was like in the middle of all that momentum that I gained. I was like in the middle of working on this TV series, which was really exciting, and I just like was all of a sudden back here in South Georgia and like, fuck, all of that's over for me. Like, fuck, man, all that, the progress that I was making towards like trying to be a filmmaker or something was gone. And so for a while I was just kind of like sad and being an idiot. And then I realized, I got to do what I can do. And so I was like, I'm sitting on a stack of these stories. I've been writing stories my whole life, and I could do a podcast, and And so I started looking around at horror podcasts and, whatever, man. You've been around my Twitter for a while. I don't fucking bullshit or pull punches or anything. So to be fucking brutally honest, like most horror fiction podcasts are real fucking boring to me. I
Yeah.
just, it's either got that creepy pasta, no sleep podcast feel, which to me just kind of every story seems like an 18-year-old trying to creep out another 18-year-old or whatever. And they're not like real stories. They're just kind of like jump scares in text form. And then even the ones that I kind of liked, like they lean too hard on atmospheric music. So they got all this music in the background while the story's going on. And yeah, if the music is really good, any fucking story can be affecting. You know what I mean? Like as long as the
Right.
story's not crap. So like, and I don't like to lean on music. I like to, if the story's gonna scare you, I want to know that it scares you without having to layer some creepy sounds on top of it or whatever.
Hmm.
So anyway, I only found like a few that I liked, Pseudopod mainly, and the others I just couldn't care for and saw them as pretty shitty, and nobody's trying to bring like a metal sensibility whatsoever or any kind of like grime to their horror. Even Pseudopod, which is a fucking phenomenal podcast, every single story is top notch horror, but it still ends up, you get a lot of like upper middle class white folks in big houses kind of stories and shit. And just like I don't do that. I try and do something different. And so lurking was like my reaction to all of that. It was me trying to figure out what I was gonna do as a storyteller, since I couldn't really make movies where I'm
Hmm.
at, and something I could do with all these stories that I've been sitting on. And I had recently become a fucking black metal nut and decided to make that like my aesthetic,
Hmm.
and yeah, so that's where it came from. Really was like me trying to pivot in a storytelling career because I was like right about to be able to make some movies and shit, and then nope. So I had to figure out a new thing.
Right. Well, you kill it with Lurking Transmission. It's dirty and like dark and it's dangerous feeling, because like you said, a lot of these like horror story podcasts are out really clean and fucking, just really predictable. They're not doing anything that really scares you. You know what I mean? But you listen to your podcast, like, oh, this is kind of dangerous. I don't. What road is this going down? There's a lot of twists and turns here.
Cool. Yeah, that's how I try and keep it, man. Try and I don't want you to be able to predict stuff too easy. I mean, sometimes I'll lean on some more predictable stuff. I'm like way into pulp horror. Robert E. Howard is probably my number one favorite writer of all time. And so
Hmm.
like sometimes I fall back on that the classic pulp horror feeling, which is like you're building towards a thing and the end is going to bring some kind of like scare drop or whatever. But mostly I try and keep stuff surprising and definitely try and keep it grimy and dirty. You won't. There ain't no white folks living in huge houses in Lurking Transmission.
Yeah, I love your voice actors too. You cast some really killer voice actors.
Yeah, thanks, man. I got lucky on all that. I found a couple real talented people in the early days when I started who just they liked what I was doing and were able to accept like a lower payment than perhaps they would normally take for their work. And then for a lot of it, I like cast a lot of my friends who are talented. Anytime I need like a particularly country sounding person or whatever, I don't ever get voice actors off the internet for that because you can't fake a country accent, man.
Right.
You really can't. I mean, you're country dude, like, and even the best of them just ain't good, you know.
Exactly.
Uh, really, like, and recently, I every time I say that recently, I think about that. Well, he fucking did it again in Knives Out. I haven't seen Knives Out, but
Mhm.
like I'm aware that Daniel Craig is country as hell in that, and I've seen a trailer for it and heard his accent. and it's like the same accent he used in that NASCAR movie he did with Adam Driver.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see that. Oh, Logan Lucky. And it's like it's a good movie, and Daniel Craig is good and all, but it's like, man, you don't sound real, dude. That shit sounds like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, it's overly done,
Yeah,
too much draw, or like you can't. Yeah, it's hard to get the whole Southern thing down if you're not Southern.
it really is, man. So yeah, for the most part, I rope a lot of friends into that. But over the past 2 years, I've met a lot of cool voice actors through Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is great for finding cool people, like for doing projects or just like finding cool people to share ideas with.
It really is, man. Like I pretty much fully abandoned Facebook real quick, like for Twitter. Once I realized that, like, all the shit I hate about Facebook, which is that like you post a thing, right, and then none of your friends see the thing until like 12
Right.
hours unless you give Facebook $1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, well, then why the fuck am I on here? If you're not just letting all my friends see my shit when I post it, what is the point? So and Twitter feels less restricted. I know it is, the algorithm still squeeze you up in various ways or whatever, but for the most part, you put some shit up and everybody sees it when you put it up. And
Yeah.
so you get quicker reaction, and yeah, it just feels more real.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm used to all the social media, even back during MySpace when I was doing stuff for my band. I was running all the social media shit for when I was doing band stuff. So like I know all the tips and tricks to how to get this and that. But over the years, like especially with Facebook, they've done cut down on all that shit. Like all my tricks like are useless now.
Right,
Like I have to go and
yeah.
tag fucking people, and I feel bad about tagging people. I don't want to bother them, so I try to tag people that usually respond to my post anyways on Facebook, but it's rough, man, trying to get shit out there. Especially
It
like if I
is,
got the
yeah.
podcast or something, I'm like, God, it's a fucking work.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I'm the same. I don't like to do those tag bombs, but sometimes you got to do it, and I always just try and, like you said, stick to the people that I know are cool with it, that I know I'm not annoying the fuck out of when I do it. But it's interesting how, like, you'll put up a post with no tag on it, and then like, the same kind of shit that just has 5 or 6 people's names tagged on it, then it's a big thing, then it
Yeah.
circulates. So got to do what you got to do. A friend of mine who like does very well for himself in various money making schemes in life. He says that you got to be comfortable being an absolute fucking fanatic with whatever your own thing is. You can't be worried about like getting on people's nerves today or whatever. You got to be like, this is what I do, it's what I believe in, so it's what I talk about. If you ain't into it, fuck off.
Exactly.
And it works. I mean, I
Yeah.
did the first year that I was on Twitter, I built a lot of like, I was making friends with fellow writers and shit, and doing a lot of those things they call like writer trains, which is where they'll tag 20 people, and then those 20 people tag another 20,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll get like 100 new followers in a day, but those people don't give a shit about what you're doing.
No.
They're like, well, you're a writer, so I'm a writer, so we should support each other. And I'm like, not really, man. I mean, if I don't care about what you're doing and you don't care about what I'm doing, why are we here?
Exactly.
So it took me a while to sort of like figure out how to approach it properly, and to not worry about the shit I was saying that was shaking off some people, because whatever, you shake off the people who shouldn't be around, and you get the people who should.
Right. Yeah. You keep the people that need to be there. So yeah, that makes total sense there.
Yeah.
Yeah, also Instagram's another good one I use for getting some promotion out there. Like they seem to be, I know they're owned by Facebook, but I get more reacts on there than I do on Facebook. Like at least twice as many reacts on fucking Instagram. So
Right on. Yeah, I try, man. I'm just like kind of shitty at Instagram, and I'm not really a photo person. I'm like trying to force myself into being a photo person so I could keep up on social media. But like I'm not the kind of dude who pulls out his phone at a party normally. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I know people who, every time they're with their friends, they end up getting photos of that. situation and keeping them on their phone. I just like I'm too busy running my mouth or fucking whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. What I usually do with the Instagram chat is fucking like post screenshots from like whatever hard thing I'm doing or whatever with the podcast or some kind of music thing, and I throw it up there. Like when it comes to like real photos and all, I don't do too much of that. Even though I do some nature shit when I'm at work. If I'm like riding on a fucking tractor or some shit and there's like a cool looking fucking sunrise, I get a picture of that and I get a shit ton of reacts from it. So
Right. It's funny how simple shit like that works, right?
yeah, I'm like,
It's
man, I
always
just took
like
this
a
on my
cat photo
iPhone.
or something.
But yeah, cat photos are big, man. I've done some
Yeah.
stuff for my black cat Lily where I like fucking make her even like darker looking and evil and shit and throw that out there, and man, I get all kinds of reacts on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking cats and horror. That's the only thing I post about anymore. Cats, horror, metal, and working out. That's about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It works. I mean, it works. And I try to like I try and keep it, I try and think about shit as a brand, as cheesy as that is. I try and, I don't post movie shit from Lurking, because I got another spot for that. And I'm trying to keep it on like horror fiction, writing and podcasts and metal. So I try to keep it to that, but it's funny how every now and then, I put up some stupid fucking selfie of me drinking coffee or something, and I get twice the interaction on that than when I'm trying to like talk about something I care about.
Right, man. The algorithms are crazy when it comes to shit like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So another thing I want to talk to you about, man, is this fucking killer ass anthology and the Shadows of Horns of Black Metal Horror anthology. I'm like
Uh,
halfway through it because I got so much shit going on right now. I'm trying to like juggle here and there. But what
oh,
I've read
sure.
so far is fucking amazing, dude.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thanks, man. We're so fucking proud of how it came out. We went from we decided to do that thing. We decided that was going to be our theme, because we decided to do a book first, right? Do an anthology. And then Edwin was like, we're going to do a theme, man. Everybody's doing these themes. And I was like, yeah, I guess if we do a theme, it's got to be black metal, right? And he was like, yeah, for sure. And we knew it was a big roll of the dice, because black metal don't mean the same thing to everybody. It's,
Mm-hmm.
the real dorky motherfuckers like me and Edwin, we'll try and tell you what it's about and what it means and the kind of shit you need to be talking about if you're going to be black metal. But for other people, it's as simple as you got blast beats and tremolo riffs. That's black metal, and the rest of y'all are fucking dorks for talking about, other shit. And I totally get it from both sides. I understand I'm a fucking dork. But so we were like, we'll probably get a lot of stories that are basically just like horror stories about dudes in corpse paint or whatever. And we did get a lot of that, and passed on almost all of that. But we did get a lot of stuff from people who obviously really listen to black metal or are in that scene, who understand the ideology behind it, and are into the same kind of shit as we are. And yeah, I mean, like in a week, we went from the first handful of stories we got, we were like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work out, man. Until like 2 weeks after that, we were like, oh yeah, this is gonna work out real fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a real cool mix of people, cool mix of styles. We didn't want to repeat the same story twice, which is why we got like a handful of stories about people in black metal, corpse paint fools and horror stories, and we were like, well, we're gonna pick like two of these, and the rest have got to go. We didn't want to have too many of those kind of stories in there.
Right.
And yeah, I'm super happy with the mix of stuff that we got going.
So far out what I've read, I'm about halfway through, but like the very first story is my favorite story, the band.
Oh
That shit is
yeah,
fucking crazy, dude.
awesome, man. Yeah, yeah. I think so far everybody has said that. Everybody's like, the band, man. The band kicks ass. I mean, that's why we put it first. We knew it was like we needed a story right at the first of the book that was like that showed you as a reader, like if you're a black metal head too, that we know what the fuck we're talking about. We didn't show up to just like tell you goofy fucking horror stories about dudes in corpse paint. Like this is the real deal. And then also this ain't no mediocre show, you know. We didn't there's no filler in the book. We didn't buy anybody's story just because they're our homie or just because they got a name or anything like that. Like none of that fucking bullshit. Every single story that's in there is in there because we loved it, because we thought it was fucking top notch, you know. And like Edwin reads more indie horror than I do.
Hmm.
I've spent like the past year of my life, I've branched out in horror writers more than I ever have before. I'm real bad about like I just been reading Robert E. Howard and Lovecraft and Stephen King and a handful of other people like my whole life, and I just they've got so much stuff and I love it. I just keep going back to it, you know, because when I try and branch out, I'm never really satisfied. But you know, since deciding to do this thing, I was like, well, I got to get serious and spend some money on these indie books and see what's going on out there. And you know, again, man, no pulled punches. Like, there's just a lot of shit out there, like a lot of fucking trash and a lot of people who are clearly like hiring their homies because they're homies, or hiring somebody just because they got a name uh, in indie horror just because they're selling books or whatever, and it's not about quality first a lot of times, you know. And so we just took that quality first approach, and that's what we knew the band had that. So that was why we were like, this goes first because this story fucking kicks ass, man. Like, and that's Matthew Mitchell's first published story ever, and
No
which blows
shit.
my mind because that's such a fucking good story.
Yeah, so like visceral and just nasty. Like
Yeah.
after I read it, I couldn't get out of my head for like a week. I'm like, God damn, that was good. It's like so fucked up. And I've been in some weird situations with my band back in the day, like touring around and stuff. Now, not at that to that extreme of that story, of course,
Right.
but some weird shit. I've been in fucking places where there's like blood on the ceiling and shit, and I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of fucking crazy motherfuckers and all, like, so I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I've only been out on the road big time once in 2018, but and I got lucky. We didn't didn't really run to any real sketchy shit, but you know, it happens for sure. And and yeah, like not too long ago, somebody was posting about the band. Somebody got their copy and was like, "Holy shit, that first story of the band is a hell of a story." You know, like who the fuck would do that? You know, and I was like, shit, I'd give myself that tattoo and go see the band.
Yeah, no shit.
Such a good story, and Matthew comes from a real similar place than me and Edwin. You know, he's a country boy. He's I think he's from Oklahoma. I think Matthew's from Oklahoma, so it's a different kind of country than
Mhm.
us. But he's still like a rural country dude. You know, a total fucking hick, and that sensibility comes through in that story. I just love the whole world of that story, man. Like I'd like to know more about that artist Bug, like the noise artist Bug that he goes and talks to.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to know more about that person, and just that whole world. It'd be a great movie or a great like episode of Masters of Horror if that was still a thing or something.
Oh yeah, no shit. That'd be great on if Masters of Horror was still around, which I wish it
Yeah.
was, man. God damn it.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually, we'll get something like that, you know, because series are real popular right now, and there's just nobody bringing a commitment to quality the way that Masters of Horror did. Not that, you know, Masters of Horror had a couple misses here and there, like it was a few stinkers, um, but for the most part, I mean, they were real fucking good.
Hmm.
And there's just, you know, there's nothing quite nothing episodic that's pulling off that quality, you know. All the like long form plot shows that everybody loves. I haven't seen Midnight Mass.
Oh,
Um,
that's killer. I definitely recommend it.
cool. Yeah, no, it looks cool, and it looks to be, you know, like quality, great writing, great acting and directing. But you know, it's a long form plot. You're down for all 10 episodes or whatever, or you're not. But we don't have anything really like Masters of Horror anymore. That's just serving you up standalone stories of top-notch quality.
Yeah, that's true. The last like really killer horror anthology, which wasn't, didn't have as many stories as Masters of Horror did, but it was Channel Zero when that came out. Do you remember Channel Zero?
Man, I gotta watch that. And
Oh,
I thought Channel Zero was a long form thing. I thought each season was a story.
yeah, it is, but it's like a short anthology to me. It's like 4 seasons, but each season's a different story, so I kind of consider it
Okay,
an anthology. But
cool,
yeah, it's not like
cool.
Master of Horror style anthology, but highly recommended, dude. It's some of the most fucked up shit I've ever seen on TV because it premiered on Sci-Fi out of all places. I was like, it's gonna be like a
Right,
sci-fi original. My expectations were low, and man,
right,
it blew
yeah.
me away, dude. It's so good.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I didn't really pay attention until I realized that Crampton was on there, and I was like, "What the fuck? They got Barbara on that show?" And uh, and then I realized it wasn't on Sci-Fi anymore. It was on Shutter or whatever. I was like, "Oh shit! Well, I can watch it now." So I'll get to it. I just like it takes me forever to get around to TV shows, man. It's hard for me to set the time aside because I'm always so busy.
Yeah, and there's so much content out there. It is insane, man. Like I'm trying to right now finish up my year end like favorite shit. So I'm watching stuff that just came out this year, and I still got shit from last year I haven't watched just because I don't have enough time in a day.
I know,
There's so much
man.
shit to do. I'm like, I get 2 days off. That's it. I gotta cram so much shit in the fucking 2 days. It's crazy.
Yeah, same here, man. And I just like every November, December is the same for me. Like all the metal homies start talking about their favorite albums of the year, and all the horror people are talking about their favorite films of the year. And I'm like, man, I've seen like 2 movies that came out this year, and I've listened to like 5 albums that came out this year. Like I can't keep up, you know?
Luckily with the album stuff, I got a long commute to work, like an hour and 20 minutes or so each way. So I get to listen to like a whole CD,
Oh
if not two
shit.
CDs on the way there. Yeah, so that's the
Nice,
only good
very
thing.
nice. Yeah, yeah. I'm a block and a half. You know, I walk to work every day, so I don't I
I
don't
guess.
get any commute time in. But I do get, you know, if I'm working outside or if I'm doing something that doesn't involve power tools, I can get a lot of podcast time in or a lot of albums in. Lately I've been listening to a lot of talk podcasts because I like October is so busy for me every year. I put so many stupid fucking deadlines on myself, and then I'm never smart enough to like get it done way ahead of time. So I'm always like absolutely murdering myself every September and October trying to get all this shit done. And when October's over, I need a break.
Right.
And so I'll just listen to talk shows for a while to like give my head some time to cool off. So I've been listening to a lot of your episodes and a lot of a show called Weird Transmissions with Curtis M. Lawson, where he talks to horror writers and stuff. And that's like kind of how I recharge.
That's cool. I appreciate you listening to mine. That's always a cool thing when I hear people say that because I'm really new to this. This is my first year doing podcasts, and I've been doing fucking band shit for 15, 16 years of my life. Never had time for anything else. So started writing reviews and then started the podcast this year. And I'm pleased with it. It's fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's going really well for you, man, and you're really warming up. Like your interviews are getting better and better. You know, you're like real quickly getting. I don't want to use the word bigger because I don't give a fuck about shit like that. You know, to me, like Bill Oberst is 1,000 times more important, cooler, more talented, and more meaningful to me than like Brad Pitt or
Right.
anybody else. You know, but like you know just recently like from Billy Pond to Oberst to Spider One and Bonnie Aaron's, like you know you're getting some people with a name behind them like pretty quick, and that's really cool, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. That Bill Oberst one's one of my favorite. That was a deep ass podcast, especially towards the end when he threw out the whole death stuff to me. He caught me so off guard. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, you
He's
know.
so fucking cool, man. I was blown away. I love that dude as an actor, and have for years. And when I saw you got him for an interview, I was like, oh wow, this will be fucking cool. And it fucked me up in like the first 5 minutes because I was like, Bill Oberst is fucking American.
Right.
Like I thought that cat was like German or something, man. Because I've seen him play. I swear I've seen him play 2 different foreign accented roles, and I just like I thought that was him.
Mhm.
And so I was like, damn, he's American, man. And yeah, he couldn't have been any fucking cooler. Just like so wicked intelligent and like quick to just get down into the dirt of a conversation, man. He was cool as fuck.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, man. That was so good and this really eye-opening and this made me think, man, like we got deep fast.
Yeah,
Respect all that.
man.
I'm like, I like that challenge, man. That's cool, man. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like Billy Pond's really fucking cool. Like I've been seeing him around for a while, and like he's friends with a guy that I know, but I never met Billy. But and I never checked out his movies because, to be 100% honest, like the non-supernatural clown killer thing is like not it's not like I don't like that shit, but it's not
Mhm.
what like it doesn't grab me right off.
Right.
I'm always like, all right, I'll get to that clown thing later or whatever. But like hearing him talk about his movies, I'm like, okay, he takes this real fucking seriously, and he's like you could tell he understands exploitation film. He understands like 70s, 80s grime, and that he's going for a certain thing. And then also he's just a southern metalhead, and I got a big place in my heart for that. Like,
He's a hell of a guitar player too, man. If you follow, I think he's got a Twitter. Yeah, he's got a Billy Hopon on Twitter. But if he's
yeah,
got any
yeah, I've
videos up
checked
on there,
out
him
some of his
shredding.
stuff that what is it, the something experience that he
Yeah,
does?
yeah, he does like the Jimi Hendrix experience. Yeah, experience.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a damn good guitar player, man. He's got that awesome Texas blues rock style down.
Mm-hmm. I've known him for years now, like way before we did the podcast. Because as I review movies and all that stuff, I was doing that before the podcast, and I met him for like reviewing Circus of the Dead and stuff. We became friends, and that's how I met Bill and everybody else from that whole little circle and stuff. So it's been cool keeping in touch and staying close to these fellows.
Right on, man. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's good stuff there. So I know you also do you're into music as well. You're in a black metal band, correct? Well, Grave Gnosis.
Yeah, Gnosis. Yeah, yeah,
Grave
man.
Gnosis, sorry. Yeah.
I think Gnosis probably works fine, man. I don't even think there's a hard pronunciation on that. If there is, I'm not aware of it. Yeah, yeah, man. Those are some of my best friends. I only recently became a member of the band. Like I played a lot of stuff on their most recent full length album, Lux Negredo. Like a lot of the noisy interlude stuff and like layers of weird fucking sounds here and there. A lot of that stuff is me as like a guest appearance. But they recently lost a guitar player. We technically lost two guitar players,
Oh man.
and and got offered some really cool shows in January. And the way Kane's the guy behind Grave Gnosis. He
Mm.
just like he doesn't turn stuff down. If he gets an offer, he's like, yeah, we'll do it, and he figures out how to make it happen in time to get it done. And so he needed somebody to play guitar, and he was like, "What's up? Would you play?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. I already know like a bunch of the riffs anyway." So um, that's been cool as shit. And then about a week ago, we talked my brother into playing the drums because they also lost their drummer. And
Mm. Yeah.
so today, this afternoon, has been our first time all together playing. And like before I left there to shoot back across town to my house and record this thing, we had time to um, run through one section of the song twice, and it sounds real fucking good already. It's very fun, man. It's been a long time for me since I played metal. Like my band is called Bound for the Ground, and we're like ritual noise if you're a black metal dork,
Mm.
dark ambient if you're a normal person. And so we play like real noisy, weird shit mixed with this like we do acoustic. It's like hill country blues meets black metal. So we make black metal with an acoustic guitar and a slide in a blues tuning, and we're trying to like imagine if this was 1920 and we were sitting around on a porch on a dirt road, but we wanted to make black metal.
Oh, cool.
That's what Bound for the Ground does. And so for a while, I've been doing like that real grimy, loose, noisy approach to shit, and I hadn't played like riffs out of a cab in a long, long time. So it's been real fun, man. I'm very much looking forward to playing these shows.
That's killer. And when do y'all go on tour?
We are, yeah, I wouldn't call it a tour, but we're so friends of ours. They are on tour. They're in a band called Nixel from Baltimore, and I think they're doing like a full East Coast, all the way up and down thing. And we're just going to support them on their southeastern leg. So we're doing New Orleans on January 17th. It'll be us, Grave Gnosis, and Nixel headlining, and then our buddies Mahinet will also be playing, and Mahinet's fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them before. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Mahinet's killer. And then we'll be playing Atlanta on the 18th, on January 18th, and then we might do Jacksonville on the 19th, but we probably won't. They want us to, but it's like they're fucking from Baltimore, so they don't really realize how far New Orleans, Atlanta, and Jacksonville are from each other. So they booked that shit like thinking that was a good idea, but
yeah,
it's not a good idea, and they'll find that out. And that we might just have to bow out of that. But so far we're only committed to the two dates, the 17th and the 18th, New Orleans and Atlanta.
that's killer. Yeah, we played New Orleans before. That was a fun time driving a fucking van with the big ass trailer behind her over that super long bridge. I can't remember the name of that gets you into New Orleans. Like the super super long, and yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, man. And so if you well, I mean, it looks the same whether you're coming from the north or the east, but that like I-10, the piece of Interstate 10 that goes across Lake Pontchartrain, and it's that's where that shot from Fulci's The Beyond is, where that chick is just sitting in the middle of the road with the dog. That's I-10 across the swamp, across Lake Pontchartrain. So
no shit, didn't know that.
Yeah, it's cool shit. I'd never been to New Orleans. When we were on tour in 2018, we crossed Pontchartrain on I-10, but we went north of New Orleans and just headed on into Texas. So I've never visited the city. I'm very much looking forward to it, man. It's a place I've wanted to go like my whole life.
That's killer. Yeah, me and my wife did a vacation there because that's one of her like bucket list places she's never got to visit. So we went down there and stayed in the French Quarter. So
very cool, man.
Yeah, it was cool. It's a hell of a party vibe down there though, and I'm not a party person, so it's kind of like vinegar and water there. You know what I mean? But besides that, like the attractions, like seeing shit was cool. A lot of them, the voodoo shops down in the French Quarter are full of shit. Like it's all ran by the same people, and they're just trying to take your money. Unfortunately,
right? Of course.
Like, I want to see the fucking dirty shit, man. Like where's the real shit? And of course, and it's not gonna be down there for the tourists to see, but it was still a cool experience. I'm happy I went down there.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's why I wish I'd have caught up with you before it was your last day, man, because like our buddies in Mahinet, they live there, and they're real deal practitioners, so they could have take you to the real spots. Of like Josh and the crew, they hang out in places where like they don't really let other white folks hang out. They get into some real shit down there. So.
Yeah, like I said, the French Quarter where we were staying at was really touristy and stuff, and they had like a football game going on one of the nights, so you had all these assholes out there in their jerseys. Like, I'm like, oh my god, I was like, dude, just fucking shoot me.
Yeah. I mean, I like to party, especially if I'm in the mood. But the sports vibe really ain't for me. But
yeah. it was interesting. And when we played New Orleans, we played at a place called Gasa Gasa, which was like I think an hour away from French Quarter. It was like this really badass bar next to where you know the band Thou.
Yeah.
They had like a record store there. It was like their own shop that Thou owned or whatever and stuff. It was right next to this place, and that fucking place was great. But unfortunately, the bands we played with both had stories on why they couldn't play that night because their gear got stolen, all this shit. They're all locals, but the thing was they were fighting with each other. So they
Ah,
couldn't play the show because they had a beef with each other. So we got to play the whole fucking thing by ourselves. Just played an extra long set that night with great sound, dude. It had subwoofers underneath the fucking stage and shit. I mean, some of the best sound I've ever played with before, you
oh,
know,
that's nice,
and
man.
all the
That's
other
nice.
bands just canceled out. Like, you fucking assholes, man. I was like, whatever, man. You know, I think it was one other band that stayed. One other band was like a two-piece doom band that stayed and played with us. But yeah, interesting
Right.
experiences in New Orleans.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, there's something special about when you get to play at a place with like real nice sound. That's
Oh, it's
real
the best,
nice.
man. Luckily,
Are you? Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
man.
I was saying, luckily, when we played live and stuff and traveled, we had to take the double axle trailer and shit because I played with a wall of sound behind me. Like
Oh
all this stuff
shit.
is in my podcast room right now, but I got two 212 PV triple X heads on. I mean combos on top of two 412 metal head caps from Fender,
Oh
and they're
shit.
500 something watts a piece. The cabs alone, and then I'm looking at about 1,000 watts total just from what I got
Oh,
going on. So
fuck yeah. Holy shit, man. Yeah.
yeah. That's not
Yeah.
including what the bass player had. She also played guitar with me on a few songs, so she had a guitar rig plus a fucking bass rig. We take up the whole stage of three of us back in the day. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah, man. And it's like, you hope the place you're playing at has got some drum mics.
Yeah, no shit. That's key. We always have our own drum mics. We always carry our own mics and everything. We can run the show by ourselves. Shit, I think we had a fucking mixer too we took with us because some of the places we played at were fucking, not so
Yeah,
good. So
right on. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You're in South Carolina, right?
Right, yep, South Carolina, yep.
So surely you've been to Ground Zero before?
Oh hell yeah, I played there I played there after being a. Here's a cool story. I played there after fucking cutting my leg open with a giant ass pair of hedge trimmers at work. I cut my knee open. I had to get like 13 stitches in my knee. And after walking a half a mile to my work truck to get back in there, my knees is bleeding everywhere. It goes down to the bone. Get my
Oh,
stitches. And that night we drive 4 hours. It's like 4 hours away from where I live at to get to Ground Zero, and we play a fucking nasty ass show, dude. And my stitches are coming out while I was on stage.
fuck yeah. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah. No, Ground Zero, I was gonna say, has got some of the best sound at any place that I've played.
Oh, they do, man. Yeah, we've always had a good time at Ground Zero. And only time we didn't like playing there when it had like the drum riser back there. It fucked things up on the stage. The drum riser almost like fucking fell off
Ah,
when the drummer was on there. Like he's like, I don't want to play on a fucking drum riser that is wobbling around like that. But
right.
besides that, it's
Yeah.
always been killer.
Cool. Yeah. It's a weird idea too, because all it does is make it's like now your drummer's got to fit on that riser instead of
Right.
just letting them fit on the stage, which is fucking huge.
Yeah, I don't recommend drum risers, man. Like we need room. He's got a shit ton of drums, and we all have a shit ton of amps. Like if we play anywhere, I like to have like nice and flat, open area if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even like I guess the mentality behind drum risers is, you get the drummer up higher because it's easier to see them that way. But I'm like, man, if you care about that kind of shit, just put that motherfucker up front. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Tool does. Tool's one of my
Yeah.
favorite bands, and if Danny and Justin and Adam are up front and Maynard's in the back, like the drummer,
Hmm.
because it's just more interesting that way. You know?
Yeah, I
Um,
like to see odd setups like that.
yeah, yeah, same.
Yeah, are y'all playing Ground Zero? I don't think you said, or have you played Ground Zero before with that band?
You know what? And I just said that I did not fucking play Ground Zero. Grave Gnosis played Ground Zero, but and that was the tour that I was on. But my band didn't start playing until we got out west, so
Hmm.
I didn't even play Ground Zero.
I got you.
But they had great sound.
Yeah, and the strange thing is they're in the middle of fucking nowhere, dude. It's like you show up there and if you never heard of Ground Zero, been there before, you're like, oh man, am I gonna get murdered here? It's got that sketchy like metal ass vibe to it, and it's a legendary place. Everybody's played there. But if you didn't know shit
Yeah.
about it, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, same. I had never heard of it before we went there. And then we got there, and I was like, damn, this is in a weird spot. But then when you get inside, you're like, oh shit, these folks they know what they're doing. Like, real big and nice on the inside, pro lights, pro sound. and you see all the posters from people who played there, and I was like, the fucking King Diamond Abigail tour came through like right before or right after us. I was
Hmm.
like, God damn, man! Like everybody plays there, you know. With hats off, like to the people who run Ground Zero for building that up and having a nice place for people to stop over in the Southeast, because it's, you know, it's tough. Like a lot of bands just they skip over the Southeast. A lot of bands, it's like they leave New York and then they go to Florida.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, man? Stop, at least goddamn stop in Atlanta or somewhere. You know, and a lot of folks are skipping Atlanta now because Atlanta's legendary rock metal venue closed,
Yeah. The
and
Masquerade, the original Masquerade.
right, right, and then the new location was a fucking shithole for a long time and was just
Uh,
like real off and on, up and down in quality, and now they finally got it sorted out in terms of like the venue itself, but
hmm
it's in a fucked up part of town, so a lot of people don't want to go over there.
uh, yeah, I remember playing Atlanta. We never played the Masquerade, but there was a place called what was it called? It's like the Unicorn, the Golden Unicorn, or some shit like that. It's
Oh
somewhere in
yeah,
Atlanta.
yeah, yeah. I know what
You know
you're
what I'm
talking
talking
about.
about? We went down there after work one day. Like we all got done work and left normal time. We drove fucking 5.5, 6 hours to get down there. And we were like a black and doom band, so that's pretty much what we were. If you like the Melvins, like a black metal version of that, that's kind of how we sounded. So we
Right,
get
you're
there.
talking about Tripping the Mechanism?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, I've heard some of it. Yeah.
We get down there and the fucking guy that booked us, some fucking idiot I never even heard of before. He's like, "Oh, y'all come down, it'd be a great show." He's got us playing with a whole bunch of fucking brutal death metal bands, which I love brutal death metal, but the audience was there to see brutal death metal, not a fucking black and doom band. So we
Right.
get up there, we start playing. They're looking at us like we're fucking crazy because we're playing with Coat Hanger Abortion, and they're fucking cool as hell. They're friends of mine, and we're playing with those guys and a couple other bands. I'm like, this is a horrible booking. So we got done playing since the crowd was like just standing there looking at us. We grabbed our shit, didn't even get our money, and hauled ass back to Charleston.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's funny with sometimes bookers don't really quite get genre. You know, you get that weird shit. And it's always that. It's always like some really gnarly death metal band getting thrown in to the black metal bill, or the other way around. It's two death metal bands local, and you're a black metal touring band, and they're like, oh, well, this works. And it's like, no, man, these people aren't gonna like this shit, dude.
Right.
This shit ain't the same, man.
We had kids sitting there with their arms folded, like looking at us, like, "What the fuck is this?" No head bobbing or nothing. I'm up there fucking doing my thing on stage, trying to be as crazy as I can, just getting into music, hoping somebody will follow through, do the same in the crowd and stuff. And they're just sitting there with their fucking hands crossed and arms crossed, and like, oh fuck,
Yeah. And
horrible.
that's weird, man, because Atlanta's real good about like pretty much if your shit is heavy at all, people will get into it for the most
Mhm.
part. You know, there's like a lot of fucking knuckleheads in Atlanta, and they like heavy shit. But when you start like if you're a little bit too left field, you know, if you got anything like kind of weird or smart going on, then they start to check out. You know, they
Right.
like shit real straightforward and bonehead.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's what that show was.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you had to like group your some of your favorite horror movies, like give me like maybe 5 or 6 of your favorite horror movies of all time. I usually ask people this, and I was like, oh, give me your top five, but it don't have to be your top of all time because that's too fucking hard to really get down and narrow it down to that. But like, what are 5 or 6 of your favorite horror films?
Well, there's, you know, for me, there's the Holy Trinity, which never goes anywhere for me. Like my like they're all tied for number one place as my favorite horror films, and that never changes for me. And that's Night of the Living Dead, you know, original 1968 Night of the Living Dead,
Hmm.
um, and that's you know that's number one for me because it fucking changed everything. Everything. Every motherfucking thing you see done in horror movie today is done because of George Romero and what he threw down in 1968 on Night of the Living Dead. I mean, like the whole, you know, what they call cinema verite, the handheld look, you know, the shaky cam kind of thing that Night of the Living Dead has, which keeps it real fucking raw and real and intimate. Nobody was doing that in horror film,
Right.
before him. You know, I mean, like the French were doing it with their dramas and with their art house films and stuff, but George took that idea and plonked it into the middle of the first night of the end of the world. You know, and it's just fucking untouchable, and it's still just as dark and creepy and scary than it ever has been. The whatever message you want to take home from Night of the Living Dead is still just as kick you in the nuts, knife in the guts as it's ever been. You know, it hadn't aged any softer. It's just a fucking hard ass, dirty, awesome, grimy horror movie, and I love it. And then it jump started the whole zombie obsession that Planet Earth has. Which I get burned out on zombies. I go through my phases, but in my heart, it never goes away. You know, I love them.
Right.
So there's Night of the Living Dead, and then Suspiria is tied. And Suspiria is sort of like the opposite approach to horror movie. Like whereas Night of the Living Dead is no color. The camera's just like on somebody's shoulder or in somebody's hand, and it's like down in the dirt of the situation, and it's moving around with the story, and it's got all this like vibrant, crazy energy. Suspiria is just like this. The camera is often real static or slow moving, and everything's so colorful and nightmarish and unreal, like just the opposite of being real.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that's like the other strength of film to me. There's two approaches to film. I feel like you can try and present me a story and make me believe that like I'm seeing something that's happening, or
Mm-hmm.
you like lean into the strength of sight and sound and go like Suspiria or Mandy, or just like overwhelm my senses and do what film is really best at. That, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you want to tell me an intimate story, just tell me the story. I don't need a TV. Um, but yes, Suspiria is untouchable when it comes to that nightmarish, over the top, surreal, colorful film. Just like that's cinema to the max to me is Suspiria.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third part of the Holy Trinity for me is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's
Oh,
it nails everything that I like as a Southerner. It's just mean as shit and grimy.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you need a shower after you watch Texas Chain, even though you might have seen it 100 times. It like you can smell it.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
It's a special movie, man. Nothing ever really hits as hard as Texas Chain, because so much of it was real. I mean, it was a fucking million degrees in that house. It really was full of rotting meat and flies and shit. Like that shit ain't fake, and that
Nope.
people really were stressed out and losing their shit and out of it. All that translates to the screen. So yeah, that's my holy trinity, man. It's Night of the Living Dead, Suspiria, and Texas Chain, and then like my immediate number two is Mulholland Drive, and a lot of people don't
Oh, nice.
think of Mulholland Drive as a horror movie, but I damn
Oh,
sure.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yes.
and very affecting. I've seen Mulholland Drive as many times as I've seen any of my favorite films. A fucking lot. And still, like sometimes I'll watch it, and then I wake up fucking with a nightmare. I wake up scared to death that night, and it's nothing in particular, really. You know what I mean? It's just like that vibe that movie gives you. That movie makes you feel like you're sitting somewhere like in a huge dark warehouse, and there's somebody slowly creeping up behind you, and you're like, you don't have time to turn around and see who it is. Just like it feels like something's coming to get you when you're watching that movie. It's fucking intense, man. And I just love David Lynch. I love his whole style, everything he's ever done. But Mulholland Drive is like peak horror for me when it comes to his stuff.
And that Bonnie Aaron scene in there where she plays a homeless person. Holy shit.
So crazy, man.
Oh,
Yeah. And
it's
that,
only
so
like for
like
10 seconds, but fuck, man.
I know, and like I only found out that was Bonnie Aaron's like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Because like for nearly 20 years now, I thought that was a dude. Like me and my friends, we call that character the bacon faced man.
Mhm.
And we're always like, oh man, you seen Mulholland Drive? Yeah, man, the bacon faced man, he'll fuck you up. And people who haven't seen it are like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? I'm like, you just got to see it. But yeah, like I found out like maybe 2 years ago that was Bonnie Aaron's, and I keep forgetting that it's her until somebody mentions it, and I'm like, oh yeah, damn, that's fucking crazy.
It is. Holy shit. Yeah, David
Yes.
Lynch, man, all his stuff is great. My favorite David Lynch film is Lost Highway. Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, yeah, I love Lost Highway. I hope that it can eventually get a fucking physical release. It's so fucking weird that that movie's like trapped in legal hell.
Yeah, it's so hard to find. I think I found it on YouTube by accident, like trying to search for it again to watch it. I'm like, I can't, it's not really streaming anywhere. Like, where the fuck can I watch Lost Highway? It's one of my favorite films. And I found like
Yeah,
a VHS version of it I watched, which I like that. I like the VHS version of some of the older films like that. It kind of keeps the magic there. It doesn't show everything, you know. It
yeah, for
hides a little bit
sure.
behind the curtain, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have a VHS, but the DVD copy of Lost Highway that I have, it's a VHS rip. So
Nice.
it's got that real a weird feel to it.
Yeah, it's
Let me
killer.
try and think. Oh, right, and obviously like I count them as one movie, but Creep Show 1 and 2
Oh, hell yeah.
are two of my favorite things of all time, man. Like I grew up on those. My dad is which my mom is she's into horror too, but my dad passed on when I was a kid, passed on to me a lot of just a box full of 60s 70s reprints of old school pulp
Hmm.
horror and fantasy, all the fucking Robert E. Howard Conan books and Lovecraft and stuff. And he was also just way big into 70s early 80s horror movies, and we grew up on Creep Show. Like thanks for the ride lady is like an inside joke in my family. If we're together fucking around and somebody says thanks for the ride lady, like we'll all crack up. So I was raised on that shit, and it's part of the reason like I am the fucking weirdo that I am today. And part of the inspiration behind Lurking too is Creep Show. I want every episode of Lurking to feel like an audio version of Creep Show where you get 3 or 4 stories and some stuff in between, and it feels like a feature length horror thing is what I'm trying to go for.
Killer.
But yeah, those that's probably my top spots, man. I could go on and on about about horror movies, but those are definitely the top five that always come to mind.
That's solid, man. You can tell a lot from a person when you ask them like favorite films. I get a lot from people that way. Like, okay, I get what you're coming from.
Yeah, true, man, true.
It's the same with bands. You ask my favorite bands or whatever. Oh, Five Finger Death Punch. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, you
Oh
like
yeah,
metal? Yeah, Five Finger Death Punch. Like, no, okay, cool.
yeah, man.
Talk to you later, buddy. I'm good.
Yeah, it's a shame, man, because like 20 years ago, for me that band was Hatebreed.
Hmm.
Somebody would be like, "Oh, you're in the metal." I'm like, "Yeah." Oh man, I like that Hatebreed shit, man. And I'm like, "Oh, sweet." And like now, I like Hatebreed now.
Right.
But when I was younger, I thought they were cheesy as fuck and like just too bonehead for me. Um, but yeah, I dig them now, and like even if I didn't still like them, it's still yikes compared to something like Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't bash on bands. Like, I don't really like bashing on bands, but I just won't talk to you about them anymore. If you say something like, "Oh, this is
Sure.
your favorite," I just won't say a damn thing about it, and I'm gonna walk
Yeah.
away from you. So,
Same, man, same. And I'm like, I'm just happy if like at least they're fucking playing guitars and real drums. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that's cool. You're into that, man. It's better than you ask somebody what they're into and all they listen to is like radio hip hop.
oh yeah, yeah.
Which I'm a huge, huge hip hop dude, but I can't fuck with hardly any of that new stuff, especially anything that's popular. All that stuff sucks so fucking bad. And all those people are so full of shit and phony and, just like the opposite of what hip hop is supposed to be about to me. So I can't fuck with it. And I'm like, at least if you're in a 5 Finger Death Punch, at least some motherfuckers are playing instruments. Like,
Yeah, I give them that. Yeah. That's all they get though, but I give them that.
yeah, yeah. Although I did recently, I found out, I guess they're like way big into cops or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So, obviously I'm not. But I'm like,
Yeah,
so
even more reason to put those guys to the other side,
yeah, for sure. I like, if I was ever going to give them a chance, I'm definitely not going to now that I realize they're like write songs for police and shit.
Yeah, I'm good. Fuck that.
Yeah. Oh, hey man, I hate to fucking cut you, but I told the band crew I would do an hour and get back. And they drove up from Tallahassee, so I gotta get back. But if you got like a closing thing, I'm down for it.
No, if you got anything like any future projects you want to throw out there, or where can people listen to you at and all that shit?
Yeah. So the Lurking Transmission is on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, all of that shit. Pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find the Lurking Transmission. Same goes with my super fucking intermittent movie talk podcast occult thing that I do called Ritual Light and Sound. It's out there. If you would like to purchase any of my books, we've got In the Shadow of the Horns, a black metal horror anthology, is out right now, and we literally have less than 10 copies left. I think we might even have like less than 5 of them things left. But you can buy them at gravelyunusual.big cartel, or is it /big cartel? However the fuck big cartel works. You go to Gravely Unusual Magazine's Big Cartel, and you can buy In the Shadow of the Horns, a black metal horror anthology. And I've also got my book out, which is a collection of stories. 9 of them are from the show, from Lurking. 1 is previously unreleased, and then I've got a Robert E. Howard poem in there, and that's called The Lurking Transmission Grimoire 1. And that is also available on the Gravely Unusual Big Cartel spot. Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at Real Sonic Danger. That's like mostly where I run my mouth and try and spread the word about the shit that I'm up to. Yeah, or you can listen to me run my mouth about movies and kooky occult shit on Twitter at 24 Frame Ritual. That's 24 Frame Ritual. Yeah, and I'd love to do this anytime again with you, man. Especially if I can put in some more time with you. It's really good talking to you, man.
Hell yeah, we definitely need to do this again. So let's aim for next year. I'm gonna try to get my old podcast out that I got recorded. Try to get most of that shit out this year into January, and then we'll talk again sometime next year and do this. So
Excellent, very fucking cool, Brandon.
hell yeah, man. And you have a great band practice and shit. And it was great talking with you, dude.
Thanks, dude. Have a good one, man.
Later.
Peace.